tools out of the packet, they're usually pretty sharp, but as you use them, wear and tear kicks in and you're going to have to resharpen them. It's fine to hone them on an oil stone or a whetstone or a diamond plate, but if you've got a nick in the blade, you're going to have to regrind it. So this is where these machines kick in. These are your workhorse in the sharpening process. Most grinders will run at a high speed, whereas this particular model runs at a slow speed, which means that as you put a tool up against the stone, there is less speed, which means less friction, which means less heat generated. That way you don't run the risk of burning the tool and losing the temper of the tool. Most grinders will arrive out of the box with a blue stone, fairly rough grain. And if you want to do rough grinding or removing a lot of steel quickly, they're fine, fantastic. But if you want to get a fine edge on your tools, you need to get a finer stone. And in that case, I'd recommend an aluminium oxide stone of about 120 grit. Even if you don't have a slow speed grinder, it is still a good idea to change to aluminium oxide stones because they do go to a finer grit. Now imagine the comparison to sandpaper. 80 grit gives you a rough surface on your wood, 120 gives you a finer surface, and the same applies to these stones. The finer the grit you use, the smaller the little nicks in the blade are where you've sharpened, and the sharper the blade will be. But of course, you will still have to hone if you're using planes or chisels, whereas wood turning tools, I use them straight off the stone. So once you've changed the stone over, you'll most likely find that it doesn't run perfectly truly. In that case, what you need to do is dress the stone, and you can use a diamond dresser such as this one here. And all you do is, with the motor running, place the dressing stone onto the tool rest and slowly bring it into contact with the stone, and it works as an abrasive, removing the high spots on the stone. Once your stone's dressed and you're ready to start sharpening, what you'll find is that the standard tool rest that comes with a bench grinder only has a fairly small surface area, which is fine for certain work. But if you're sharpening plane blades, chisels, or turning tools, I find that it's much better to get an extra tool rest. And in this case, these ones come with a couple of little locking levers so that once it's mounted to the bench, you can then adjust the angle and the distance to get the exact angle that you prefer to grind your tools to, and then you've got this larger surface area which gives you a lot of support for the tool. They also, in some cases, come with these little adapters, and these ones are quite handy because you can rest a gouge in this section or a skew chisel pointing in either direction, or if you're sharpening chisels or planes, you've got this little carriage which just slips into place, slides along this milled groove, and then you can just rest the tool blade in position and gently work it across the surface of the stone and create a nice uniform blade or surface, and you can repeat the process over and over again without any trouble. If you find that the tool rest and the carriage are a little bit sticky, all you do is whack some of this silver light on there, and that helps to lubricate the surface, and then it'll travel much more smoothly. While these tool rests are fantastic and versatile for using for plane blades or chisel blades or wood turning tools, if you want a dedicated wood turning sharpening jig, go for the Heligrind jig. Click on the link above and you'll see a video on that I produced a while ago. Some people like to flat grind the bevels on their tools, but my preference is for a hollow grind. Now by hollow grind, what I mean is the stone is curved, so where it grinds away the steel of your blade, the bevel is not flat, but it's actually concave. The beauty of that is that when you then put it on an oil stone or a sharpening stone, the tip and the heel of the bevel are touching, and that way you can get a razor sharp edge on the tip of your blade. So just to recap, the advantage of a slow speed grinder is that by running at a lower speed, you reduce the amount of friction created, and therefore you don't overheat the tool and possibly lose the temper. Aluminium oxide stones, finer grit, and you get a sharper edge, and you get a smoother grind. These tool rests, you can use them either with chisels, planes, or with turning tools. I'm Andrew Potocnik. I'll see you next time.